players. We'll start off in the top right corner of the map with our yellow Zerg player, soO. Good to see him still around, still playing some games, as I hadn't seen him for a little while. Feels like it's been a while since he played in my events, but yeah, I was eager to play in the TLMC, so that's always nice. As in the bottom left, our red Terran is Kelazhur from Team Liquid. He starts off the day with a loss. This is soO's first matchup of the day. And let's tell you guys a little bit about Errorhome. So this is a map from the Rush section, if I'm not mistaken myself, by Volume. It's a small rush map with 6 bases per player, so not a lot of bases. Main attack route leads through dangerous low ground. Side paths are on the high ground, but blocked by long rocks at one point. So you've got this kind of low ground central area, but obviously, you know, you've got rocks over here. If you break through those, you can get siege tank positions here, punish this midway central position. And there's also Zelnaga towers at the top left and the bottom right, which is hidden behind a line of sight blocker as well, so you've got to get onto this position to clean it out. I have vision of the tower to clean out the tower, and it gives you some good vision in the top and bottom corners. So that is our map, and this is what we're working with here for this game. Do you ever find that some maps just get banned all the time and they don't get played? Yeah. It's definitely one of the biggest headaches, I suppose, with the that we have in the TLMC is trying to make sure all the maps get played a reasonable amount, and I feel like we've never really done badly with it, in a sense, because yeah, I mean, I feel like the system I use is pretty good, because basically, again, we'll just take maps that have been played least, and then basically just kind of, you know, put them in again and again. And even when we had Arch of Janus, which I think was maybe the most controversial map of all time, Arch of Janus, I think even that map had a few games where players didn't veto it, even though it was basically in every single map veto selection. Because even I think the players kind of want to play on some of the crazy maps sometimes as well, right? So, although I don't think I'll ever forget Classic's response to when we loaded into Arch of Janus for the first time, and then he goes, question mark, question mark, question mark, and he's just like, is the map bugged? Is my spawn bugged? That map was, oh, well, that map was kind of crazy, to be fair. But yes, we do sometimes have maps that are going to get played a lot. The fail-safe is if certain maps don't get played, we can also just force maps to be played as map 1 of playoff series as well. So if the players really do just consistently veto a certain map, we will just use that map as like map 1 of a couple of the playoff matches to guarantee it gets played. Generally, every map gets played at least 6 times, though. It's been a long time since it's been a real struggle to get maps played at least 6 times. And the most a map gets played is usually about 9-ish times, somewhere around there. So yeah, it's fun though. Like I said, I mean, this is one of the things I've really liked about creating this tournament and running this tournament for so long. We've really been able to develop in my eyes, a really cool way of being able to do it and give the maps, you know, the proper amount of love and making sure it's as fair as possible, and just finding a good kind of you know, a really good kind of across the board kind of fairness amongst players, maps, and everything. I don't know. I like the system, is what I'm trying to say, I suppose. Keep it simple. We are going to see this little Reaper Hellion poke around here initially, trying to get some information. There's obviously a couple more Hellions coming across. Kelazhur's TVZ as of late has been very, very good, by the way, so do expect Kelazhur to come out firing in this series, and we'll see how soO can do. soO has also been pretty darn good in ZvT, to be fair. It's definitely a matchup which, you know, at certain times soO looks very, like, unbeatable in this matchup, but there's other points where I'm like, soO, hello, what are we doing, you know? And then he just kind of just doesn't pop off at all. So what Kelazhur always feels like he ends up in, like, grueling long series in TVZ. As of late, though, is Hellion's still cruising. The Viking's going to go after this Overlord, which wants to try and push through for some information. So trying to come over here is going to die. That's going to be actually kind of a bad supply block. soO does not have another Overlord on the way. Starts a lad now, starts 1. But yeah, he's not going to be able to produce units for just a few moments. His drone count at least will be very healthy. In a game where Kelazhur's gone to 3cc, that's absolutely acceptable. Viking just making his way to the top. A few of these Cryptiumers getting taken down straight away as well. So the Hellions succeeding with that. And now going to come back around to the right as we do see the creep continue to push around. A little bit more creeps coming in over here. We're just going to be seeing a little grenade, popping some queens back. Hellions coming through once more. And actually just trying to trade with these queens. If you can get a queen kill, that'd be really nice. He is going to get one. Costs you a Hellion. It's nice to get rid of queens, though. Get rid of some of that energy. Get rid of some of that potential creep spread, transfusions, etc. So, if I can around the top, we'll potentially be able to land in for some mineral line action if it wants to. More likely, it's just still on the hunt for some more of these overlords. Double checking there's no vision. We are following up with a liberator, so clearing out the vision on the top side then allows this liberator to move into position much more easily, much more freely, without any issues at all. So the liberator comes around the top and just going to be having our Hellions poking onto the queens a little bit. More drones, 3-4 drones already going down, and now the queen taking a little bit of a shot or two. So Kelazhur doing pretty good damage here straight away, and will come around this side, sieging up once more. Doesn't quite grab a drone just yet. We'll go for an unsiege. Queens are like, we really want to chase those Hellions down. Some of them are kind of low HP, but can they really get far enough forward? I think the answer to that was no, not really. Not without going too far off of creeps. So they backed it up. Liberator's going to sit in the corner, and the Overlord came to watch it, then realizes, this thing can fight me. Spore Crawler will get into position behind the mineral line, and there's Viking going to come across on the right as well. He's going to land, and then decide that that's just a bad idea, doesn't like it, so just leaves. Kelazhur having a little bit of fun with this. And yeah, so far, in terms of just the first impressions of the map, as the mutas are coming online as well from soO, worth mentioning. First impression of the map is kind of like it, right? It just feels very, very reasonable. Interested to see a bit more of the center of the map and so on, but yeah, nothing too crazy. Last TLMC, I actually said I think it was one of the strongest TLMCs we'd ever had in terms of like the strength of the maps. Simply because so many of the maps were just so good, and a big part of the reason for that was we didn't really have any like crazy categories anymore where it's like, you must do this, you must include like 3 slow zones, or you must include neutral missile turrets or something. And so we had a lot of very good maps, even maps from the Rush and the freestyle categories. And honestly, on my first glance, kind of led me to feel the same way about this set of maps. And so far what we're seeing in the games, I know we're only 3 maps deep so far, guys, but first impressions in game is that a lot of these maps seem very good, very playable, and just very, ability to give us some very cool games. And obviously it takes a while to figure out metas and figure out how exactly maps play, but like I say, I think first impression wise, very good. These mutas having a great first impression as well, though, as they are showing up for 13 SCVs, and that is just the one thing that Kelazhur has not really been prepped for. The mutas came as quite a shock to him, actually, and yeah, obviously because of the shorter map, they then arrive across the map even faster or even sooner, and he just wasn't ready for this at all. So the Mutalisks are dealing dreadful amounts of damage, and Kelazhur is actually in a lot of trouble because originally it was just 10 SCVs, but now we're up to 21 SCVs dead off the back of these Mutalisk attacks. The Marine's still hanging up to the top side, waiting for this drone to come over where it is going to build a hatchery. Get that into place here. The Marines moving around a little bit. That CC is floating over to the far left-hand side as well. Wants to try and get into position on the 9 o'clock. And the Marines are sat in this corner. Going to be taking some damage here. Come the Mutalisks to try and hit big clean up, and that drop is dealt with. And now soO can rotate back down to the bottom side. Try and deal with this position as well. I mean, Kelazhur's been clearing the creep, but the creep is still there, so the speed boost will still be applicable for the Zerg player, who tries to set off some of the initial Widow Mines already with the first couple of Lings moving forward. Widow Mines do decently, but man, there's just not enough Terran, and Kelazhur is forced to lift up and get out of there. Retreat mode fully activated, and now going to clean up all of the Widow Mines on the tail end. So there's a bit of money in the bank, which if he spent would find himself a little bit better off, so it would be nice if he could maybe find his way toward that just a little bit more easily. Zamita's now going to go latching onto a couple of supply depots. First depot going down, the Marines coming in from either side, a couple of Mutalisks going down pretty much straight away. That obviously hurts just slightly as we go back over this direction. These Marines are still pushing forward, still looking to come on through. Here we go, the Lings, the Banes rolling on in. And again, just so much firepower, quite frankly, in the Zerg army. There's just so much of everything that it feels like Kelazhur's not really getting any chance at all to kind of have his own way in this game. It is turned into a bit of a brutal shutdown at this point in time. Depot's under some fire here as well as the mutas continue to pick their way through those. So Depot's continue to be in some trouble, and yeah, this really does just seem as though we are heading directly towards a game 1 victory for soO. I mean, Kelazhur's supply isn't even like bad. It's just, it is starting to feel a bit out of reach, I think, right? There's just so much control. I think that's the thing, right? Everything that's happening is because it's soO choosing for it to happen. soO's deciding that this attack happens. soO's deciding that this fight takes place over here. Kelazhur's medifacts are getting cleaned up and pushed back. And maybe if Kelazhur can get maxed out and just go with the one big push and just keep that push going, maybe that's his hope. I mean, he does have 4 bases, moving to 5. Maybe a couple of Widow Mines help him get momentum in his favor. Maybe a drop goes correctly like this one. But he needs a few things to come together at the same time, and right now it just doesn't feel like that is happening. I was going to say, I would have actually liked to see these bases just go for that mineral line. There wasn't really much there defensively. It was mostly just the core that was choked up, and sure, the Lings can't deal with that, but everything else could have done. I think this drop is really the savior of Kelazhur. Without that drop, soO would have been all over him on the bottom left. And so Kelazhur has bought himself some very important breathing seconds to give himself at least a bit of a chance here that at first didn't really seem like it was going to be there. And now Lingbane Muta is on the chase and is going to go and try and shut this down. So this is what I was kind of expecting almost from soO, but like I say, Kelazhur's dropped bought him a few more moments. Work is starting to go down. There's just no units from Kelazhur anywhere, right? Like, 18 SCVs dead. I just still can't see why Kelazhur's army's going to start amassing from. A Thor pops out on that 3rd base, but surrounded by Lings isn't going to be having a good time. It goes down as well, and I do think, yeah, Kelazhur getting back on his feet from this is going to be a bit too difficult. And Kelazhur is going to agree with that assessment. GG's, and it is going to be soO taking the first map of the day for himself. It's going to be fun. We've got so much coming up for the end of this year. We've got lots coming your way. So with that said, for now, let's continue to enjoy these games. First day back on it, and let's grind out some action, shall we? Is in the bottom right-hand corner, the red Terran player from Team Liquid down a game is Kelazhur. And this map looks darn pretty, doesn't it? It is Babylon, and in the top left of it is soO, the blue Zerg player. Alright, okay. I mean, already, I love it. It looks amazing. Look at these colors. I know it doesn't seem like it takes... Sometimes it doesn't seem like it takes much to, like, make me happy, but, like, the colors already just pop. I love it. Alright, let me put someone's camera on to follow us. Oh, Kelazhur might be going some Reapers here early. Let me tell you guys a little bit about Babylon by Shah. This is a fairly small map with standardized expansion patterns that feature 4 different cliff levels as well. So what that means, guys, is we've got, like, the main base is up on a high ground, then the natural, then the low ground, and then another low ground, which was not really a thing until Pride of Altaris was the first map on Ladder to feature that. Oh, I always love following Indy on these TLMCs. He shows us all the cool things. This map belongs to Rush because even though it has 4 cliff levels, it features a linear 3rd base relatively open on the low ground, while the triangle 3rd attack path would be straightforward and short if the rocks are taken down. So maybe not naturally a rush map, but has some rushing aspects to it. So what they're saying is if you expand here, this map becomes very short because these rocks get taken down. This is a very, very quick push. But if you come over here to take the 3rd base, it's extremely open. There's no ramp up into it or anything. So while it's maybe not as rushy straight away, it is very, very much so attackable, I suppose. You know? Definitely very attackable. It's going to be seen now. Reaper is going to go pinging away at a couple of Lings. And just going to be seeing the Reaper. Ooh, nearly going down again. Got to remember, servers will be a factor here on some of these EU versus Korean matches, guys. In the past, we did a lot of Korean groups and EU groups in these tournaments on the map contest, but it's just so hard to do those kind of single region events nowadays because it's just tough to guarantee a certain amount of players from one region, a certain amount from another, because, well, yeah, I mean, especially in Korea, it's very tough to find players a lot of the time nowadays, so it's just become more and more difficult to do that, but that's okay. Let's do have our Reaper here. Me moving around, Queen coming down the ramp, gonna push that Reaper away, and a hatchery coming through as the Reaper hops up into the main. Been getting a few extra shots off on that Reaper, taking a little bit of a beating. Gonna end up a little bit low on HP, but is still alive, still kicking, should be able to stay out of trouble well enough to at least keep on scouting. That's of course one of the main goals here early, to keep the scouting information going, keep the action happening. Can we get this creep tumor? No, the Link's coming down the ramp definitely helping to make sure that that Reaper was not going to be able to get in. It is nice to keep your initial creep tumor alive. It does make a bit of a difference, so nice to do exactly that. Well, roaches are popping. soO is obviously not messing around. This is exactly why keeping the Reaper alive and getting information is very important for Kelazhur. So you can see stuff like this coming his way. So now he's very aware of exactly what's happening. He knows that soO is going to be bringing the fire in the form of roaches. And soO just marching across the map at the moment to try and get some damage done. A couple of Ravages will start to morph in. Kelazhur's on his way to a Banshee. He did play triple CC again here, so triple CC, first couple of Ravages now morphing in. But trying to get 2 bunkers up, will it be enough? Remember that you built this low ground kind of barrack, so now your rank is on this low ground as well, so that's very exposed. And that was kind of one of my question marks initially with how Kelazhur was setting up. I thought we were going to see Reapers. I talked about the map, we came back, he wasn't building Reapers, so I didn't bring it back up, but that obviously location is still kind of exposed, right? 3 SCVs, a few depots, and obviously at least the bunkers up. This should be about all soO can find. Obviously if he gets the factory, that'd be very frustrating. The Banshee is out, no? It's flying over. I was going to say it's got to be showing up in the next moment or two, but it was good just to check where it was just in case it was caught up somewhere. But Banshee are going to push the roaches back. I think what I like the most here for soO is that these roaches are going to get out alive. You know, he didn't give them up trying to continue to push forwards. And what that means... Oh my god, that map is freaking beautiful, isn't it? What that means is that obviously now he doesn't have to build roaches defensively to a counterattack. So you already have those roaches up. I like this a lot, because even though you didn't find a lot of damage, the investment is a lot lower, because you didn't give up as much to actually get the damage done in the end. Yes, you had to give up some economy. Yes, you had to build these roaches, but you still have roaches up defensively now, and I think that's something you don't always see in these situations. Hellions want to try and come around the side, but defense is going to be there. soO is opening up these rocks, by the way. I mean, if he's going to continue playing some kind of roachling aggression, then opening up these rocks is only going to allow him to get across the map even more quickly. So soO trying to definitely lower the rush distance of the map, definitely trying to bring this a little bit more aggressively into line. Yeah, this map is freaking awesome in terms of decoration, isn't it? There's just so many little bits and pieces that look so cool. Like this little, just little things, and like this little shrine over here is very cool. And yeah, I know. I obviously over the next few days, guys, we'll take moments just to like zoom around the maps and look at different places and just investigate them a little bit, right? But so far, it's yeah, already seen just some very pretty maps, and yeah. That's the craziest thing I think about the TLMC, is that these maps, not only are they designed great in terms of being able to play StarCraft on, they are aesthetically amazing as well, right? Okay, thank you so much for the 82-month resub. You've definitely lasted longer than a lettuce. Yes, I would say you have. Thank you so much for the 82 months. Much appreciated. Oh, Kelazhur has the dancing SUV stuck behind the engineering base. See, Kelazhur can use the excuse that it's a new map, right? He wasn't sure. When I do this on the maps that I've been on the ladder for 6 months, I don't have any excuse. I always get my SUV stuck. Like, every single time, pretty much. My SUV is almost always stuck. It's just like a little pylon. It's like an old school pylon. It's like an elongated pylon, huh? It's like a single. It's actually emitting light. It's kind of weird. Actually, like the light just goes up in the sky. The spot left from the main looks hard for tanks and drops. I don't think a tank reaches, no. Maybe onto like the very edge. If you see like a tank here, maybe it could reach like these corners. I don't know how much of a big deal that is if it reaches just the very edge, right? Lifting up and dropping into the main base, sure. But obviously if you take a fourth base down over here, then you can Yeah, if you take a fourth base over here, you can basically protect the fourth base and protect that. But then I guess this position becomes an issue as well, right? There's a bear that's drowning. This one? Oh my god, it's it's holding on to. It's fallen off the log bridge. Oh my god, that's amazing. Kills some low FPS. It's also something that happens, especially, you know what it is? This is like the worst combo as well. Like TVZ, low, like a map that struggles with FPS that then has like ZvT where there's a lot of creep spread is definitely is definitely one of the issues that happens sometimes. I always notice the low FPS maps because when you're already streaming, then you have the low FPS map on top of it. It's like very noticeable a lot of the time, you know? Very noticeable. Oh, good. We'll see if this can get resolved. We might be able to make some changes as well. Got to remove the waterfall effects, the waterfalls. Ah. Isn't it such a pain when your map's just too pretty that it's laggy? Your map's just too awesome. Yeah, water effects really screw it up, right? Is that bear like doubled up? When you look at the bear from this direction, he's blurry. Is that because of the water effects? Like over here, he looks normal. Well, then his tail gets doubled up. Okay, meanwhile, there is a marine drop on the map, and Kelazhur is going to be forced to lift and get out of there. Some Ravagers show, but he got quite a few link kills initially. He's drumming, not drowning. Yeah, I mean, it looked as though he was just having a good time, but then he was tripping a bit, man. There was like 3 bears when there should have been 1 bear. Yeah, 143 chance. Thank you so much for the 8-month resub on the Prime. Welcome backers. Fellas are going to move around to the top side, try and get a little bit more of the creep spread. So the Overlord taking a few shots down there as well. Ooh, Banelin's actually connecting nicely, honestly. Wouldn't mind get set off in a not so good way from Kelazhur's point of view as well, just on a single link. As our Marines will resume up this left-hand side, and will just be coming through to try and apply a little bit further pressure. Taking a Ravager back around the top center as well, try and see what else is going on. And a little Spore Crawler going to get burrowed up as well right now. Medevacs load, Marines will go a boosting on, and just going to be seeing the Roach Ravagers going to resume knocking down rocks around the map. So just in general, soO opening up the map. Generally, Zergs like to open up the map. They benefit a lot more from having attacking paths, or more attacking paths. They can get set up surrounds more easily. Top in the main base, soO not really prepared for this at all, so Kelazhur did a good job of getting through the top side. It's actually kind of worth noting, right, that not really, the creep spread doesn't really catch a lot of the drops moving through the top, I guess, so maybe need to keep Overlords up in those directions, keep an eye on those things. We see Marines in the center loading up, and we also have Kelazhur on the left-hand side, but multi-pronged from Kelazhur. He's all over the place as he tries to deal damage to soO. A soO that is otherwise, I feel like, in a pretty comfortable spot, heading in toward the Ultralisk Cavern, and definitely getting to a later stage of this TVZ, where he's going to be able to start just throwing wave after wave of units after Kelazhur here. The Parasitic Bomb is going to hit one of the Medevacs, takes the other down from the AoE. And these drops do now seem to be dropping down dead. So, soO with some good cleanups. I mean, this was all over the place. He had to send some different units around. He had to respond to the aggression of Kelazhur here, and he did so quite nicely. Now just needs to reset afterward, get rid of some of these inactive drones, get them back to work. And he really has had just a good defense. And now, like I say, powering into Ultras, etc., improving his composition. And with the Ultras especially, we'll have a real battering ram to go and attempt to knock down some of the Terran bases with. Kelazhur does take a couple of different CCs here and there as we do knock down this building hatchery. Widowmine gets burrowed. Oh, good. Oh. Good attempt of splitting from soO, but he actually didn't get the correct Baneling away, so it does go decently for Kelazhur. Supplies are still close. I do like a lot of what soO's been able to do. I like a lot of the positions soO's been able to start moving into. do wish the older cavern was being made use of. At least just start that Chitinous Plane so we have it as an option. Right now, it's still just Lingbane and Roach as a fight in the top right-hand side. soO is going to jump on top of a couple of those tanks, taking them down almost immediately. So some tanks getting wiped out straight away. Marines coming in, still trying to fight off some of these Zerglings as well. So Ling's actually not having a good time. The Marines actually able to stand and power through there for a little bit. And again, decent trades on the side of Kelazhur, who's still pushing in the upper right-hand corner as well. And just keeping the multitasking of soO stretched out, and now getting himself a chance to get to Ghosts. You know, beforehand there really felt like there was a timing here for, like it really was a timing for soO to kind of get Ultras and to make Ultras be very good. Now I feel like that timing is fast disappearing. With Ghosts already coming out, I actually almost don't want to see the Ultras come into play. And I think some Ultras probably still decent anyways, but it's just one of those things, right, where now I'm just that little bit less sure about it, as Vipers will stop to consume a bit more energy and they'll get back on the map. You see 3 Ultras. Ultras can still be very good if they split away and harass, and obviously they can still keep the Ghosts busy at least, but like I say, the Ghosts are now out, whereas before they were not. Kelazhur is trying to expand to the top right while also expanding down the bottom left. So again, just multitasking. He's keeping soO on 5 bases so far. soO is looking towards a 6th base, but hasn't been able to stretch out to base number 6 just yet. See if he can do so shortly, as he is going to get that base online now. Kelazhur's got another little push up the left at the moment, so that's coming through. Getting into position. He's also going to have to deal with the right-hand side. A couple of EMPs land. They only hit one of the Vipers. There was still an abduct available, so you abduct one of the tanks forward straight away. So that tank gets brought in. Ultra's still kind of having a wild time here, as Kelazhur is going to be at the very least losing the top right base, which he just got set up. These Ultras getting picked off though, and there's going to be now the couple snipes coming down to kill some of the Ultras on the exit as well. That is the power of these Ghosts, right? The ability to snipe the Ultras is so strong. And the Ultras, like I say, they just, to me, don't do very well at all in those situations, but I like the idea of going Ultras, and I do feel like you need to buff up a little bit extra. I just wish we'd gotten to the Ultras a little sooner. I appreciate maybe we got caught up a bit trying to fight Kelazhur, and I do think Kelazhur did a very good job of being a problem for soO, right? By creating, you know, by making himself a problem for soO, he's definitely made soO's life a bit more difficult. As we come through this side, you're just going to see a few more Widow Mines going off. BioArmy will be stimming. A lot of these Banes getting knocked down at the moment. Obviously, Zerg trying to come in from 2 sides. Finally, the Banes from the bottom doing decently. Getting through here, but soO's actually going to drop lower in supply than Kelazhur, and Kelazhur is going to hold on. A lot more Lingbane in production, but soO actually I think has a lava issue right now. Doesn't have the lava to build up everything he could have spent. And yeah, one of the things I think is notable is that soO didn't really knock down any bases of Kelazhur. Without knocking down the bases of Kelazhur, well, yeah, then you're kind of in trouble, no? Because Kelazhur's been mining throughout and he's able to keep on rebuilding. So soO now is actually in a spot of bother. These fights have not been good enough, and we are seeing Kelazhur make a bid to go 1-1 so far. And Banes keep crashing through the planetary fortress, is gonna get knocked down, so at least we get rid of the bottom base. Kelazhur's still got that 5th in the upper right corner. Sending a drop down the bottom left as well, knowing that soO has one of the bases over in that corner as well, so another location to move towards. Hello everyone from the Here Marine stream. Didn't realize Gabe was live so early in the day. Welcome guys, you're watching the Team Liquid map contest tournament by myself, Wardy. And we're in the second series of the day. We've had Clem vs Kelazhur so far. Now we've got soO vs Kelazhur. We also have Skillus and Hero in this group. We'll be seeing some of those Protoss players a bit further down the line. We have 8 best of 3 still to go today, so welcome. Sit back, relax, enjoy. We've got a ton of action, and let's make it a good one as these Ghosts trying to retreat away from the Lingbane that's busting forwards. soO is having a bit of trouble in this map so far. He started out well, but he's not able to get the fights he needs to really close out the game. He's really trading just in a bad way, right? 9,000 resources lost difference. That's typically okay for Zerg if they're heavily outmining the Terran player, but I wouldn't really say that's the case here. Because soO is only just about hanging on to 6 bases. Kelazhur comfortably has 5 fighting for his own base 6. It's quite important that soO either takes both of the essential kind of base 7s for the players, so goes to 8 bases himself and essentially has 1 base. Well, he would then have 2 bases more than Kelazhur. At the very least right now, he needs to take his own 7th base and never let Kelazhur get to his own. Otherwise, Kelazhur's efficiency in this game is just going to stack up a bit too much, and soO does feel a little lost as to what he should be doing in terms of a transition, if he should be transitioning at all. I like this, though. He's going to find himself the planetary top right, so he gets Kelazhur out of position. Kelazhur doesn't really have vision through the very top side of the map, so he didn't know this attack was coming. He is pushing down to the bottom left, though, so soO's going to lose the base in this process. Might want to start re-expanding himself to the top right. Viper's trying to get away, but they stop, which means the Ghost will snipe them both down, so some of the only tech soO really had. In fact, that was the only tech he had. Otherwise, he's just on pure Ling Vein. I actually do not think soO is in any sort of position to fight against Kelazhur's army right now. This is looking as though Kelazhur is on an absolute tear here in this game too, looking to tie up this series and to take us to a game 3. Couple of tank shots going in, and just going to have our planetary fortress holding decently in the bottom side. Another couple of command centers will be placed down as well. +3 armor a few moments from finishing. Veins, Ultras, all continuing out. These few additional Overseers are being brought in as well. I mean, I like that we're seeing some Ultras again. I do think we need them. We need some kind of tech here. I think pure Ling Bane isn't going to do it. Knock down this hatchery. I mean, Kelazhur on a push. 45 army supply in the lead in this game. Has the splash damage to back it up as well. And this feels as though Kelazhur is about to have a blast of a time. He lifts up quite heavily here, and he'll have to unload, especially as he's taking quite a lot of medevac damage from these parasitic bombs, splitting away from those now. Obviously just letting the tanks get a lot done. They had a lot of opportunity to get a lot of shots off in the last few moments. And they did manage to do just that. The Ultras are moving back up the top side. The Ghosts will go and snipe down a Queen, so that Queen picked off straight away as well. Queen's back over on the right, medevac's down on the bottom. Gonna pick off a tank here, so to see Ultras coming through. Going to be setting up and just going to be seeing the Lings and Ultras continue to come around. A couple of tanks getting picked off. Our Ghost will go sniping. A couple of Ultras being picked off already. I mean, again, just how does soO ever find a fight in right now with what he currently has? I think it's almost too far gone for him. He's got so much gas. I was going to say, some kind of extra tech can go a long way. You know, some Infestors and so on, extra Vipers, but it almost feels too late, even though he has the gas for it, just because how does he get those units out as well as just even more army supply to actually then go and fight with? That, I think, is the issue that soO really faces at the moment here. And like I said, I'm not really sure if there's a good way around it right now. As we have our little Bioforce in the bottom left, going to go after this hatchery. A couple of Widowmines going to burrow up. Very nice, just in case the Lings try and run away. The Widowmine actually just more to the bio than it did to any of the other Zerg units here. Split away from soO, and this attack from Kelazhur is cleaned out. So soO defends in the bottom left. Will pushing out. Love these parasitic bombs. He's actually getting a lot of the medevacs with these plays. Parasitic bombs really delivering, so quite a few medevacs dropping down. I mean, soO will take anything he can get right now. Obviously, medevacs are a pretty good thing to get rid of, so don't complain there. He's going to try and knock down this set of rocks and open up even more of the map. Snipe, snipe, snipe. Ultras gets taken down in an instant. Just going to be seeing these few bio units coming back across this direction here. See what can be done. Couple extra snipes. Ultra goes down as well. GG from soO because he just doesn't have the numbers. And Kelazhur will take this to take us to a game 3. Attacking game. As Kelazhur just needed a moment here. We had to run some ads. You guys know the drill. And so, just an extra moment before this game 3 started out. Let's get into our first game 3 of the tournament. In the bottom right-hand side, our red Terran player is Kelazhur from Team Liquid as we're playing here on I can't say this one at all. Taitalika? Taitalika? I have no idea what the intended way of saying this is, but if you guys know, feel very free to correct me. Kelazhur's in the bottom right. Thank you so much, Aki27, for the 10-month resub on the Prime. As in the top left, it is soO, our blue Zerg player. And let's have a look at this map, which I believe also comes from the freestyle section. As we have main into a very unique natural. Yep, there you go. That's the freestyle part. Oh, mineral wall into mineral wall. Okay, well, that's just actually kind of crazy. Double mineral wall over there. We take a low ground base as well. And we do have 4 layers of different... we have 4 layers of cliffs, basically, as well. So... actually very funky from the very start. So the main thing that I know is just, again, these mineral patches. 30 minerals each as well, so this is really only something you can take out defensively. Difficult to mine those out otherwise, so you can get to 3 bases very easily here. Yeah, it's actually a kind of an interesting 3-base setup, and I guess you can't really take a 3rd super quickly either, right? Because as a Zerg, unless you go out over here, so we already see 1 drone coming to start mining. Oh, that's actually kind of a fascinating way to start. Huh. I actually wonder how that really does work for Zergs, huh? You know, was it taking a 30 is going to be a little bit tougher than usual. Yo, Bailmon1065, thank you so much for the 11-month resub on the Prime as well. Maybe this is going to be the weirdest map of our map pool then, but honestly, we've seen a lot of weird maps with mineral walls and stuff work in the past as well, so... I'm honestly not against it. Usually these maps struggle in the TLMCs simply because they are... simply because the players don't want to figure it out on short notice, right? If this made it to ladder and you have some time to really research the map, figure out what you want to do, etc., then this is the kind of map that I then think does very well. But it's the sort of map that in the TLMC really doesn't do well. We had the exact same thing with Golden Wall. Golden Wall is one of the most beloved maps in recent years in SC2 when it comes to ladder maps. And in the TLMC that it was played in, people were absolutely livid when they had to play it. They were like, it's so dumb, you can take a gold, you can go through the bottom. It was like, how do you ever defend this? How do you ever play this map? And yet it was like such a good map. It was probably one of the best maps we've had in the last 3 years of StarCraft 2, right? And that's just one of those things where some maps, when they seem weird initially, just take a little bit of time to really figure out, to really... know how you're meant to play on them, because you got to figure out how you're going to play it differently, right? And that's generally the little issue, so... yeah. Very, very interesting, and again, as I'm sure even during this week, we'll see a lot of different approaches to Taitalika. And so far here, soO just ends up taking that 3rd in a pretty regular way, right? Just mines out the minerals initially, leaves 1 drone to do that throughout. Kelazhur is going to put his 3rd CC over to this side, and then obviously can float it down over there. Obviously, eventually mine through the minerals as well. Maybe even leaves the CC there so you can mine out the minerals a little bit more quickly. With the SCV returning to that command center specifically, maybe he'll morph it to an orbital and then mine out the minerals while that happens. And just use that time, kind of how people do it on Stargazers right now, where you take the in-base expansion next to the minerals, and as it morphs to the orbital, then you mine out the mineral block. Because then the CC's right there, so the trips are just a little bit faster and more easily done than having to long distance. So you're going to have to invest some creep spread to get over to this right side. That 3rd is quite the stretch away still from the natural, so the creep spread especially will be impacted by that. Hey, what's up, Ollie? How you doing? Thank you so much for 32 months. Thanks for exploring the TLMC maps. Always a pleasure. Hell yeah. Thank you for always subscribing, mate. Appreciate it. As we do have our Hellions making their way to the upper left-hand side. Now I'm going to go through to get rid of a little bit of creep spread here. So, bit of creep going down early. Hellions controlling that pretty decently so far. Battlecruiser opening from Kelazhur. Kelazhur has played a fair amount of mech as of late, so he's played a good amount of mech lately. Wouldn't be surprised to see some mech from beyond the back of this battlecruiser play. And to me, soO is kind of weak against mech play because soO just loves to spam units and go. So if soO doesn't beat the mech play on his first like bust push, it's almost like, well, how does soO play a late game? That's just not soO's kind of way of playing at all. Like, soO is just not a late game kind of player, right? And that's not an insult, that is just a stylistic fact of how soO plays StarCraft 2. So it'd be kind of interesting to see a bit of that perhaps. But yeah, it is mech. Extra factories already going down here. So Kelazhur, a good strong eco opening, very safe 3-base setup because of the mineral wall. I guess you do have the rocks there on this back mineral on that base as well though, so it's not just a mineral wall, it's also rocks. But how do you even get there? Like, it's so far down in the bottom left corner. If you commit to attacking there, you can't really attack anywhere else. And that definitely would have a little bit of an impact, as this BC is going to teleport in overhead on this base. And Queens here immediately with the Spore will get some decent damage done, but still 6 workers lost. Now our battlecruiser tries to make its way into the main. A couple of Queens are still pinging. And just going to be having a little bit more damage done. Looks like the BC for now is pretty well handled. soO's going to go straight to Spire, Roach Speed, and Carapace. Some Hellions already on the counterattack. I like that a lot. Obviously, not Hellions. The Roach is already on the counterattack. Even just trading out with a few Hellions doesn't seem bad, although these Roaches I did think were going to do a little bit more than they've ended up doing here, so maybe a little sad. PC continues to just chip its way through that hatchery on the sides. The Spore Crawler getting some damage done, and the Barracks still taking a few shots as the Queens are here once again, and the Battlecruiser is pushed away to the sedges. There's a lot of space along this left-hand side for this Battlecruiser to hang out in. This Overlord thought it was a fun place to hang out in. Not so much when the BC is here. So Overlord goes down, that cleans out what would have been usually kind of like, that Overlord's kind of there to spot drops and stuff. This is actually maybe a bit of an issue. The Roaches do not get in. Depot raised just in time, and the tanks are there now to protect against those Roaches. Banshee will help to chase them off as well. And this is going to have to wait a little while before soO really turns on the pressure as well. He's actually going to go into mutas. That's so interesting because there is 2 BCs out and we're going into a 3rd BC, so the mutas are very intriguing. Almost like he doesn't believe it's mech. Because I feel like if you know it's mech and multiple BCs, you should always be building Corruptors here. He's building mutas and now he's building an infestation pit. I am extremely intrigued as to what the plan is. I can see the mutas maybe doing well initially, although they probably can't fight the battlecruisers, so a lot of it comes down to where just things are at the right time. BC's going to teleport back home, and I think we've noticed the mutas coming across, and we're going to get a BC here to try and help defend. The turrets aren't up just yet. Of course, Kelazhur had a lot of troubles against mutas in the first game of this series as well. We do see the mutas showing up now for 7, 8, 9, 10 worker kills. Gonna get into the main. The missile turret's about to finish here. There's the BC as well. These just don't do great against the BCs. 15 workers though. I'd actually say that these mutas are paid for themselves. And yeah, the infestation pit gonna be swarm hosts. Was, I guess, kind of the first thing that came to my mind. I won't lie, I wasn't completely sure, but I guess it makes sense. If you made mutas, how could you build anything else off it? Like, do you really want to rush to Hive in that scenario? Probably not. Actually, still doing pretty good damage as Roaches are just opening up rocks, and those Hellions will get turned away after only a single Creep Tumor kill. So maybe seeing the mutas get pushed away, so they get pushed out of there. Like I said, it's going to be a big question mark on the Swarm Host and how much they can do. They're going to have to start carrying soO here a little bit. Actually feels like a very good Swarm Host map, although I'd much rather see a Nidus with this as well. I feel like there's a lot of good places you can Nidus. You can Nidus here and jump into this space, here and jump into this space, right? Here and jump into this space. It feels like there's so much Nidus potential. Without the Nidus, then you need this creep spread to be very good, but this map's actually kind of tough to have a decent creep spread on, especially with the way this game's been starting out, so I actually do think I'd rather just see a Nidus network go down already to help utilize these Swarm Hosts. And these BCs are just going to target down mutas one after the other. Here comes a few Corruptors as well. Oh, we just don't get the kill. This BC also has teleport available, so all the BCs get out. Now the Swarm Hosts feel like it's safe enough to move forward and try to make their play. So in they go, coming across to this bottom right-hand side. The Hellions are going to show up. Right now, you're kind of hoping that these Swarm Hosts accidentally drop onto the Hellions, I feel like, because soO still hasn't dropped a wave of Locusts. I mean, this is such a long time to have the Swarm Host, and only just now finally firing that first wave up. And they do go into this third base location, which, to be fair, is pretty much completely undefended. Would have liked to maybe see a few of these Locusts go a bit deeper before they landed, just because now these SCVs in the back are kind of getting away with not really being punished, and that's just because those Locusts had to move a bit further forward manually. Well, not a bad first wave of Locusts in the end. It just feels like we could have had another wave of Locusts before that wave. It just took so long for soO to really utilize the Swarm Hosts at all. Kelazhur's building a 5th battle cruiser, which after clearing out the mutas I don't disagree with, although soO is now building Corruptors. So it's going to be a good fine line of making sure you've got enough Corruptors versus not overcommitting, because you want to make sure you can keep control of the ground armies. Swarm Host taking a beating here, taking some tank shots to start out with. I think they should go for these tanks though, right? I mean, I'm going to be able to drop down, gets rid of 1, 2. I feel like 2 tanks definitely ain't too bad in that scenario. We'll see. I mean, Locusts are essentially free. We lost a few other units that were running in at the same time. Yeah, I don't hate that. I feel like that was pretty reasonable, said and done. soO has 4,500 minerals. I mean, I'd love to see him just start taking the upper right side bases, maybe some stacked defense. Not sure how much stacked defense would necessarily do, but just a couple things to start improving his setup in the game, right? I feel like could already be an investment we begin to make. It's like one having a lock on getting rid of another Swarm Host, and these Swarm Hosts have to pop from so far away. Can't imagine they're going to get anywhere too useful. Maybe toward the army. Hellbats are here though. Going to be tough. We try and drop onto the tanks, the Thors. And it didn't kill anything this time. Got a Corrosive Battle or 2 off to try and help. Also wasn't really enough. Quad BC going to show up this left-hand side. Going to go after the Spore Crawler here immediately. That gets knocked down. Some Corruptors coming forward, just going to knock down, and actually kills off one of the BCs. Didn't teleport in time. The other 3 will teleport out in sync. It's a shame to lose a BC when you've been investing into more and more of them, because if you want that to become an overwhelming count, then you just start losing one. It's a very sizable investment. Losing BCs is almost always one of the worst things that can happen to you, because every single one of those BCs is an investment, and generally each and every one you build has some idea of the use for it. So then you don't have that, and it becomes a bit tough, and I mean, BCs are just meant to be kept alive, right? That's the power of their teleports. Yeah, honestly, I'll go back to what I said earlier. I really actually just wish, as hey, BC's on teleport here, I feel like, or teleport cooldown, I feel like the Corruptors could have dove a bit harder. I was gonna say, I know I said this before, but I really just wish we saw a little bit more aggro from the Swarm Hosts. I really just wish we saw a Nidus, quite frankly. I actually really feel like a Nidus here would have been absolutely perfect, because I feel like the reason the Swarm Hosts haven't been as effective is that they've struggled to get into position. And even if the Nidus doesn't get up, it maybe gives the Swarm Host a chance to move elsewhere anyway, right? Because then Kelazhur has to move units to defend the Nidus and to stop it getting out. And yeah, I do feel like that is something which could have probably helped a lot in these scenarios. He sees Yamato down a bunch of Ravagers, free pickings. He should have teleport back on cooldown now, so they can actually teleport away from the Corrupted Trouble, as this is going to be soO committing in. His supply is already not good. Bane's going to try and crash through. A couple of these doors go so low. BC's kept alive. Corruptors are dying. soO just lost 70 supply and killed practically nothing. Yeah, look at the army graph. I'm just going to leave it up to update one more time, because it's just, yeah, ouch. Kelazhur basically doesn't have to rebuild. soO has to rebuild the entire army straight away, and he's not building into anything he didn't have before. He's building extra Corruptors, and he'll have a Greater Spire. But Kelazhur has Thors, so Kelazhur has an answer to Broodlord. It's not like Broodlord should be the biggest issue right now. I can't imagine Kelazhur's going to die to a little Brood push. He's also got Ghosts on the way. He's got multiple BCs. Really feel as though Kelazhur has this one actually very well controlled at the moment. This feels like an absolute nightmare for soO, who is in a world of trouble. And that's not going to help, losing 4 more Swarm Hosts here. Stormhost just really didn't find value at all. Resources lost this game 16.3 to 8.7. That's not the numbers that should be posted when you're playing Stormhost. They should find a lot more efficiency than that. And now these BCs just going to run rampant. They have used their Yamatos, so pretty much an instant teleport out here. Don't think it's worth sticking around. Oh, but they teleport onto where the Stormhost just came from, so you can potentially chase them down. I don't think you got any kills off of it, but they've been cool. Actually does lose a couple of his ghosts to the Stormhost Locust, though, so worth noting, if nothing else. So at least getting some value still off of the final few Swarmhosts that are still standing in this game. With tanks up, it feels like this is an impossible fight. I like the Blinding Clouds. That gives you some hope at the very least, right? As the tanks come out of Blinding Clouds, soO was already retreating. He knew that wasn't going to work well for him at the end. Viper's still trying to consume Thors and tanks. Coming up, 9 more Broodlords in production. A lot of broods. There's a couple extra orbitals coming. Kelazhur keeps on expanding. It really feels like this is a Kelazhur game right now. And that's a big win for Kelazhur in this group. After losing out to Clem, this really gives him a chance to look at moving through this group, depending on other results, of course. And we'll continue to watch Kelazhur's games. I believe we watch all 4 Kelazhur's games here first on stream before we move into other matches of the group. And yeah, I mean, obviously, I think up next he'd be against Hero, then Skillus. Very fun. As they're poking around here and there, wants to be careful not to go too far forward. Would love some Yamatos on the broods. Yep. Just freaking expensive, man. I mean, it's like, you know, when you pay the corrupted tax usually against these BCs, that's already bad enough. But then you know, basically paying that plus more for Broodlords. Space looks like it's just going to die as well. Some of the drones. I mean, I want to say that soO is scrambling, but I don't even feel like he's scrambling. I feel like he just doesn't have any sort of hold on this game. It doesn't feel like he's got anything. I mean, some snipes, Thors, the Broodlords just disappear. And then the Roach Ravagers will not do good enough. The Ghosts will absolutely clean up everything. And that's going to be GG's. Kelazhur's mech is good enough to bring in the 2-1 victory. GG's, well played.